Hey guys, it's Anne. Welcome to my home worm farming channel. If you're looking for a friendly, helpful vermiculture community, you're in the right place. Today we're looking in on Blue, my 55-gallon barrel, and second largest, now that we have the other one yet to be named. So today what I'm going to do is I am going to get a little bit of a harvest here, and then we are going to dig in it, move everything down per the wedge, and get seeing what happened to that food we fed them last time. Last time I think that I came in here, we were able to get not quite a gallon maybe. The moisture's staying pretty steady down here right now, so I don't know that we're gonna get a lot again, but just enough to keep the wedge moving is the only thing that's really important. I don't need the castings for anything in particular right now. I'm a little ways away from doing any seed starting, so I have enough to do at least that. But I will need this for when I up-pot things. I use about 20% worm castings in my seed starting mixes. And according to the books that I've read, and many of them are just textbooks on vermiculture, they indicate that anything over 25% actually can inhibit growth. I've never really experienced this. I know that just about anything that is a seed that I have fed to my worms has germinated. And, you know, what I'm making here is not 100% worm castings. What I'm doing is making worm compost. So it is not by any stretch of the imagination 100% done. So maybe that's why I have such a good germination rate with things that I'm not planning on growing in my bins. Let's see if I can get a little bit more here. The moisture's starting to get a little bit higher. And that's usually when I stop. It starts making like little mealy balls when I've got the sifter. Like this, for instance. That's when you gotta quit, or otherwise you're just gonna make little cement worm casting balls. Okay, that's enough of that. You will notice I have gloves on today because I do have a damaged hand, and unlike other people, for some reason I can't just wear one glove. It's all or nothing for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and dig in here and see how it's looking. Still a lot of moisture in here on the finished end, but I am not seeing any worms. Not yet. So that's how the wedge works. Everything dries out at this finished end, and also the food becomes depleted, so the worms leave. That's the goal anyway. And that's also how you know when, you know, and where you can harvest. Now, just coming into this one part here, which is things that have been fed in the last maybe 5 months, 4 months, you're still seeing quite a few worms in here. It's hard to estimate what the population of worms is in Blue, because I don't ever 100% harvest it. But I'm willing to bet that it's pretty close to capacity, maybe 15 pounds of worms, 10 maybe. Like I said, it's kind of hard to tell. You get some concentrated worm balls where you think, oh, that's a couple pounds of worms. But then when you're looking at the whole thing, you think, well, you know, is there really 5 times as much? Or is it more like 4? Hard to say. And when it comes down to it, as long as they're doing what I need them to do, I don't really need more worms. When I first got into vermiculture, it was all about, you know, am I seeing cocoons? Am I getting more worms, more worms, more worms? I've actually got to the part where I've got enough worms now, and I'm not pushing them to reproduce faster or anything in that matter. So if you're looking to make more worms, you know, you're trying to give them an abundance of food and bedding, and in my case, I'm giving them what I have available. So I did get that haul of pumpkins, so they are getting a little bit more of a glut than they would normally get. They normally get whatever the kitchen scraps are for that particular week. Sometimes if it's during gardening season, they'll get canning waste of, you know, tomatoes and peppers and cabbage, brassicas, that kind of thing. Oh, wow, this is cool. This is a whole bunch of potworms. Now, potworms are related to our our composting worms, but they are snow white, and that is how you know the difference between a baby worm that just came out of a cocoon and a potworm. You can look at these up close on my microscope videos, which I will link above, but I've never seen this big of a concentration of them before. I'm having like a potworm ball. Interesting. Well, I'm going to leave it in the layer that it's working on. It seems like they show up where you need them, so I don't really want to mess up where they are in their progress here. Seems as though they're actively working on whatever's in this section, which is probably fed 3 months ago. And it does seem to have a seasonal difference between what kind of critters you see. I see a lot more of the pill bugs in the summer months, and springtails in the spring, mites in the winter. Now, I don't know if that's just the kind of food that I have available at that time of year, or if the temperatures influence which critters I see. Hard to say. I've yet to see any information that in a book that tells me if what am I trying to say? What temperature ranges the bin critters enjoy. I haven't actually gone looking for it. So if anybody knows the answer to that, please put that in the comments below. All right, there we go. Anybody who's ever fed like chicken or anything, the chicken bones that are in here are going on 2 years old. At this point, it's just an experiment to see how long they last. I don't really look at them that closely. I just keep moving them back to the feeding zone. All right, let's move the camera and look at the feeding zone of Blue. All right, this portion here was fed maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. And a lot of times when we see worm balls, it's in this area here. Hopefully the worms don't disappoint me. This food here has been, acted upon by the bacteria and all the bin critters, and so it's kind of made into baby food for the worms. I think they got chicken soup last time. It didn't have a lot of chicken in it. It was mostly noodles and vegetables. So they didn't get a huge feeding last time. Got the egg crate. Look at the mites on that. Isn't that crazy? That's a crazy amount of mites. As you were, mites. Keep working. Here's some more of the chicken bones. They feel really light compared to what they used to feel like, but they are nowhere near breaking or anything. Yeah, there is a lot of mites. Not something I usually see. Maybe the fat content of the chicken soup required that many mites. That kind of makes sense, because if you feed avocados, you will often see a mite build up on the avocados. So I'm wondering if that's it. Put your thoughts below if you think that's what it is. Mites seem to maybe like getting into oily things or that sort. Got the coffee grinder working again, so hopefully we will not have to deal with whole eggshells much longer. Here's a packing blanket. Worms are enjoying it. It's definitely a lot smaller than it used to be. A lot thinner. I'm gonna put that at the end with the feeding though, just so it can keep getting all the good juices from the new food. There we go. So now we have made some room here for the wedge to move over. What is this? That's actually an orchid that I thought was dead. This is a slipper orchid. All right, I'm gonna put that there and see if it's actually alive or if it's just faking it. Yeah, I thought that thing was dead for sure, but that's awfully green. All right, so let's get the bedding together and I will get them some food. I'm gonna use this for the base. That's all of the siftings and then trimmings from houseplants, etc. down there. And then they're gonna get a really good size feeding. So I'm gonna put that face down so that it has good contact. And I know if you stay with this channel very much, it might be harping a little bit, but if you have a new bin, do not feed this much. I have a minimum of 10 pounds of worms in here, and this bin has been going for years. It has all the ecosystem it needs to eat this, and it has all the real estate it needs for the worms to get away from it if it heats up or throws off ammonia. Okay, there's your disclaimer about feeding this much pumpkin. So right now there's no worms at this end at all. And then they're gonna get about 6 gallons of bedding. It's not prepared bedding proper. It hasn't been sitting for a week. I just made this today. I got a little bit behind on my box shredding, so it is what it is. So if you have any questions about the 55-gallon bin, go ahead and put those in the comments below. Let's go take a sneak peek at the new 100-gallon bin that has been yet to be named. Okay, here we are at the new bin. Let me pull back the blankie and see what we've got here. So it looks like everything is settling in nicely. I think it was a little higher when I first made it, but as you can see, not a whole lot of worms out on top. Kind of look at the old part here. This is the part that was not fed last time. This is the part that was fed maybe 2 months ago. Packing blanket is well on its way. And then we're going to steal a peek at the food that we did feed. So maybe we can sneak peek. And not a job one-handed. Yes, look at that. Good job, worms. So they are already into that pumpkin. So we will bury that back up again and let them get back to work. But I thought we would take a peek at it and just see if the worms were progressing on the wedge from the older side through the in progress to the brand new. And it looks like they're already moving down to the brand new. Again, good worms. If you want to see the 55-gallon bin playlist, I will put that right over there. And if you've already seen that, YouTube thinks you're going to like this video right over here. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me and my worms, and everybody, have a good day.